There is a quiet temptation in the human heart that measures goodness by its scale. We ask ourselves, was it enough? Did it matter? Did anyone notice? And in those questions, something subtle happens. We begin to shrink what was never meant to be small. But goodness does not ask to be measured. It asks to be magnified. Not magnified in pride, nor displayed like a trophy under bright lights, but magnified in awareness, held closer, examined with care, honored for what it truly is. Because every act of good, no matter how quiet, it carries a kind of radiance that exceeds the moment in which it was given. Think of your life as a book. Not a book that was written in ink alone, but one that is far more mysterious. A book where the words appear on the page. Your actions, your choices, your visible deeds. But where the deeper meaning is hidden somewhere else entirely. Not in the black letters, not in the obvious sentences, but instead in the background of the page, in the spaces between, in the margins, in the silence that surrounds every word. At first glance, the white of the page seems empty. It feels like absence, like nothing at all. But what if that is where the secret things are hidden? What if the white is not the emptiness, but it is the revelation that is waiting for us to see it? The kindness that you offered when no one was watching, that is written on the white. The patience that you chose instead of anger, this is written on the white of the page. The moment that you decided to care, even when it was inconvenient, even when it cost you, that too is written in the white of the page. And here's the quiet miracle. This blank page, it's everywhere. It surrounds us. It surrounds every action. It holds every word. It's the field upon which life itself is written. Without it, nothing could be seen at all. So when we speak about magnifying the good that we have done, we're not speaking about making ourselves larger. We're speaking about learning to see what is hidden behind the words, to notice what has always been present, but is rarely acknowledged. You know, gratitude begins there, not in the grand gestures, but in the recognition. Recognition that you were given a chance to do good. A recognition that you noticed the moment when goodness was possible. Recognition that in a world that often pulls us towards indifference, you chose. And you chose to move in the direction of care. That is not small. That is not ordinary. That is participation in something sacred. We often believe that gratitude comes after something extraordinary happens, that we must wait for a great event, a life-changing moment, a clear, undeniable blessing. But gratitude, in its truest form, is much quieter than that. It lives in the realization that you were able to give, that you were able to show up, that you were able to extend something of yourself beyond yourself. To do good is not simply to help another person. It is to align, even for a moment, with the deeper rhythm of existence, a rhythm that is always moving towards connection, towards restoration, towards light. And when you recognize that, when you truly let that sink in, gratitude becomes inevitable, not forced, not manufactured, but natural. Because you begin to see that every opportunity to do good is also an invitation, an opening, a doorway into something far greater than the moment itself. Now imagine again that book. Imagine flipping through its pages, searching for meaning in the printed words alone. You will miss the fullness of what is being revealed. Now imagine that your eyes begin to adjust, that slowly, gently, you will start to see what was hidden in plain sight. Now, the white begins to shimmer, not literally, but perceptually. It gains depth. It feels alive. And in that space, something remarkable is happening. You are beginning to sense the presence of something that is beyond yourself. Call it divinity. Call it grace. Call it the quiet architecture of meaning that holds everything together. Whatever name you give it, you recognize it. And it's not because it announces itself loudly, but because it has been there all along, waiting for you to notice. And suddenly, the smallest act of goodness becomes illuminated. A kind word is no longer just a kind word. It is a thread which is woven into something infinite. A generosity that is no longer isolated. It echoes. A simple decision to care becomes evidence not of your greatness, but of the presence of something great which is moving through you. This is why we magnify the good, not to inflate it, but to reveal it. Not to claim it, but to understand it. Because when we fail to magnify the good, We risk overlooking the very evidence that life is meaningful, that connection is real, that divinity is not distant, but intimately woven into everyday existence. You know, there's another reason why we hesitate to magnify the good that we have done. We sometimes fear arrogance. We fear becoming self-congratulatory, self-centered, disconnected from humility. And this fear is not unfounded, but it is incomplete. True magnification of goodness does not center itself in expanding its context. Instead, it shifts the focus from "look at what I did" to "look at what is possible." Look at the moment that appeared. Look at the choice that was available. Look at the alignment that occurred between need and response. And feel gratitude, not because you were the source, but because you were the participant. Because you were allowed to take part in something that did not have to include you, but it did. This is humility, not the denial of goodness, but the accurate placement of it. You are not the author of the white space, but you are invited to write within it. And every time that you choose to do good, you're responding to that invitation. So what does it mean, practically, to live this way? It means pausing, not to dwell, but to acknowledge. At the end of a day, you might ask yourself, not "what did I achieve?" but "where did I notice the opportunity to do good?" And then, instead of dismissing those moments as small, you hold them up gently. You raise them up. You examine them. You allow yourself to feel gratitude, not for praise, not for recognition, but for the simple fact that those moments existed and that you met them. Over time, something begins to shift. You become more aware, more attentive, more receptive to the quiet invitations that appear throughout your life. And the more that you notice them, the more they seem to multiply. Not because they were not there before, but because your vision has changed. You're learning to see the light that is on the page. And in seeing it, you are also seeing the divinity that lives there. The divinity that does not demand perfection. A divinity that does not require grand gestures. A divinity that reveals itself in the smallest acts of care, repeated constantly, over and over and over again. This realization changes how you understand your life. You are no longer searching for the meaning in distant places, but instead in future achievements, in the abstract ideals. You are recognizing that meaning has a present. And all along, in the opportunities which you have been given to do good, your willingness to respond, your gratitude, becomes your way of honoring that recognition. Not loudly, not performatively, but sincerely. Because gratitude, at its core, is a form of attention. It is the act of saying, I see this. I see what was given. I see what was possible. I see what unfolded. And in that seeing, something deepens. You become more connected, not just to others, but to the underlying fabric of your very own existence. So do not rush past the good which you have done. Do not diminish it because it felt easy or small or it went unnoticed. Magnify it, not for the ego, but for awareness. Because in magnifying it, you're training your eyes to see what matters. You're learning to read the white spaces of your life. And in those spaces, you will find something extraordinary. Not because it is rare, but because it is ever present. You will find that goodness is not an interruption of life. It is the very essence. You will find that gratitude is not a reaction. It is a way of seeing. And you will find that divinity is not hidden from you. It is hidden for you, waiting patiently in the quiet spaces, in the unnoticed moments, in the simple acts of care that shape your everyday. So continue. Continue to do good. Not because it will be recognized, but because it is real. Continue to notice it, not because it makes you important, but because it makes life meaningful. Continue to feel the gratitude, not because everything is perfect, but because something sacred is always present. And when you turn the pages of your life, you may learn to read not only the words that are written, but the luminous, infinite, white light that revealed creation for us. Because it is there in that quiet, expansive, often overlooked space that you will discover the fullness of what it means to live, to give, to belong to something that is far greater than the individual self. Thank you for your time. May you be blessed, and shalom.